Had a great time today when I had a chance to take a short walk with Phil Schaefer, who's been involved with KIB for 20 years. 10 years as an employee and now 10 years as a tree tender, one of our specialized volunteers who helps take care of the over 50,000 trees that we've planted over the years.
So I started at KIB in 2003. We were planting 600 trees a year at that point in time. And I was the one that kind of set out the how are we going to do this financially? Okay, 100,000 trees. How are we going to ramp this up? We've got a learning curve. How are we going to accelerate that learning curve?
We just did some calculations and actually created this really cool map, time series map. We've crossed 50,000 trees that we've been able to plant so far. That's just what KIB and volunteers and tree tenders have been able to plant.
Yeah.
Some of these trees you planted, right?
Yes, you know, look at this, how this tree is shading the playground now. So it's neat for me to come back and see projects from, 10, 15 years ago and how beautiful the trees have grown.
One of the things that has been so important to us over this time, and you probably built this into the model, the way this makes economic sense is that we only have a few members of our staff that are licensed arborists. We need thousands of volunteers every year, but we also need people like Phil who are what we call tree tenders.
I love the fact that I've been planting trees for 40 years, but I've been planting them correctly for 20 years. So I did it wrong for 20 years. Some of those trees are still alive. So after I retired from KIB, I became a tree tender, a volunteer to plant trees and to help maintain trees. And so there is an educational component, professional arborists on staff who educate us, non-arborists. Obviously, we've learned how to plant a tree correctly as a volunteer, but then we also learn pruning techniques. Then we go back and we water and we mulch and that kind of stuff on our own and in groups. I don't know exactly how many tree tenders are. I know I recognize about 15 when I go out on events, but I know there are a lot more.
There are a lot more, but of course, we always could use more. Tell me about that. Like, what's the satisfaction you get out of particularly about being a tree tender?
A tree is the one thing you can do that improves after you walk away. You build a building, it's beautiful. You paint a house, it's beautiful. But it stays the way you finish it that day. A tree, hopefully, gets better every day afterwards.
That's right.
And it's so neat for me to drive around town running errands and, look at all the projects where I've planted trees and they're, every year they're bigger and they're better and they're providing more shade and more protection for rainwater and all that. And it's just so neat to see the result of my work.